Thank you everyone for being here. On behalf of Smart Dolphins, I want to welcome everyone to today's session. As many of our frequent attendees know, we host training sessions on a variety of different topics, and today we're excited to bring you this one as part of our AI Readiness Offering series. This is our answer to how organizations can get started and gain traction with AI, and this is the first in our series called Demystifying AI, What Every Business Leader Should Know. We'll share more about the series during today's session, so let us know if you have any questions. We'll jump forward here. My name is Andrew, and I am a Virtual Chief Information Officer at Smart Dolphins. I've been here about 12 years, and in this role for about 5. I spend most of my time talking to business leaders about their technology and their business strategy, and I've been having a lot of conversations about Copilot and ChatGPT in nearly every meeting over the last year, as you can imagine, and there's just so much potential here, and I'm really excited to share that with you. Talk a little bit about Smart Dolphins before we dive in. Just an introduction for anyone who may not be familiar. We are more than an IT provider. We are a strategic technology partner for business. For the last 25 years, we've been helping organizations use tech not only to stay secure and operational, but to make the most of technology in their industry. Our approach is proactive, people-focused, and tailored to align with business success. We live this mission partly through training events like this one, because we believe that empowering people is just as important, if not more important, than having the right technology. I'm personally excited about this topic because we are living in a time of extraordinary technological momentum. Generative AI has reshaped what's possible faster than anything we've seen before. It took the internet 7 years to reach 100 million users. Facebook managed that in 4.5, and ChatGPT did it in just 3 months, which is absolutely unprecedented. And as I mentioned before, speaking to customers over the last year, it's obvious that this is rapidly gaining adoption. I've had lots of conversations about the interesting and creative ways that people are already starting to use AI in their business. People are really eager to start exploring what's possible with this technology, and we're here to help you build a thoughtful and purposeful approach to that. A short disclaimer, I'm going to read word for word. I would like to remind everyone that this session is recorded. This recording may be published so that it is available to the public via our YouTube channel and other social media. If you speak during the presentation, you may appear in the published version of the recording. This session's a little bit different. We are using Teams now. If you have questions, please use the Q&A section here in Teams to remain anonymous. And due to the length of this presentation and the nature of the material, we're going to collect the questions and respond to them after the event. We'll give it in an additional appendix to the handout. You should find a link to the handout in the chat here. Please open that and feel free to follow along as we go through this. And we will follow up within a week or so with an email that shares the handout again, provides answers to the questions in the Q&A, and gathers some more feedback through a final survey. And thank you in advance to anyone who is able to provide that feedback. It really helped us improve this series. And I'd like to now introduce our trainer. It's a great pleasure to welcome Jolynn Reen. She is a certified trainer and Microsoft Master Instructor with over 30 years of experience. So without further ado, Jolynn, please take it away.
Sounds good. Thank you so much, Andrew. And like Andrew said, welcome everyone. This session is very important, I believe, to all of us. Whether you've been using AI, you've heard about it, which I think everybody has probably heard about AI, but really being able to figure out within your organizations where AI is actually being used, or if it's not, how do we actually get started? So I think this series to me is probably one of my favorite that Smart Dolphins has put together. So with that being said, let's go ahead and dive in. So demystifying AI, just the title alone to me is very intriguing, because when we talk about AI as a tool, it is everywhere, and we're going to kind of see that as we go through today. So over the next hour, we're going to explore what AI really is and why it matters, and introduce you to some key concepts in governance, data risks, strategic readiness. Not all buzzwords, but really practical ideas. You don't need to know a lot about AI right now. We're going to define and unpack these as we go through this together. So AI is usually in organizations right now, but often they're without structure. So people are using the tool, but we don't have any policies and procedures behind the scenes of that. That's both a risk and a huge opportunity. So this session is going to help you lead the shift from informal use to more of a intentional strategy. So through this session, I'll be reviewing in detail more of what we have on this roadmap. I'll refer to it throughout the session, and I do encourage you to be taking notes, be thinking about how it is you currently are using AI, how you're not using AI, what it's going to be able to do from you. Really kind of be putting down some thought process as you go through, kind of picturing where your organization is right now with AI. Okay. So I won't go through all the details on these just right now, but just to give you an idea as to what our phases are. We don't always need to start at phase 0. Think of this as a guide to help you assess where you are and what structure you need to follow next. So if you take a moment to read through the different sections that we'll be covering here today, there's actually 7 different sections. These are the steps that we will be going through today. Okay. Now, as Andrew was saying, you do have access to a handout as well. That handout will give you these different sections. It also has the table of contents at the beginning, makes it super easy to go back and find the information afterwards as well. So let's start with what is AI and what AI is not. So Gen AI, Andrew had just brought up that term Gen AI, is what we'll focus on throughout this session. However, let's quickly clarify 3 different terms that I feel really get mixed up a lot. So we have our traditional automation where it follows rules, it's predictable, it's repeatable, it's efficient, but it's not very intelligent. Artificial intelligence, AI itself, is adaptable. It finds patterns, it learns from data that it is taught, and makes decisions like fraud detection, email filtering, those kind of things. But generative AI, or Gen AI, as you'll see it abbreviated, it creates. It's what we use in our main applications today. It writes, drafts, designs. It's based on patterns, but it's not based on facts. It can be very helpful, but the other side of that is it can also be wrong. So think of Gen AI as like a fast intern with lots of data, but no judgment. It drafts, but you decide. So this slide really isn't about definitions, it's about leadership. And we'll talk about that quite a bit here in this session. You don't need to code, but you do need to know where AI is showing up, how it's being used, or what guardrails your organization really needs. So let's talk about where AI adds value. If you haven't already seen this in your organization, AI does have a lot of value to it, and where leadership is still essential. AI is excellent at accelerating tasks. It can draft emails, summarize meetings, spot patterns in large volumes of data. That's where the time saving and the productivity gains often come from, which is usually what is driving us to use AI. But speed isn't the same as judgment. AI can understand your business goals, your client context, or ethical boundaries. It doesn't validate the information, it just reflects your input. That's why leadership plays a central role. Think of AI like a fast new employee. It can produce quickly, but without oversight. It might say the wrong thing, miss important context, or overstep a boundary. So here's the key takeaways. AI output can be smart, sound smart, but they lack judgment. Human review is essential. That's where your leadership comes in, especially in anything public-facing or client-sensitive data. So policies create the structure and make the expectations clear for our organizations. Oversight turns AI output into trusted outcomes. This is where AI success actually comes from. Not just the tools, but the structure, oversight, and people. So what tools are people actually using? So kind of think about that for a minute. What tools are people actually using? If you think about what tools you have in your organization, of course, we have things like ChatGPT. So when we look at some of these AI tools, chances are they're already in your organization, but sometimes people are kind of scared to even use them. So having structure before usage isn't a bad idea, but it's not always going to be the case. So if we first talk about ChatGPT, there is a free version, easy to use, but that also means people might paste in client notes or sensitive information without even thinking about it. That data could be exposed to others. There is a safer paid version of ChatGPT called Team, not to be confused with Microsoft Teams, or the enterprise version of ChatGPT as well. But most of the organizations that we work with haven't made that shift yet. A lot of people are still using the free version. There's also a tool called Microsoft Copilot. If you've been to any of our sessions, we've talked about both of these tools before. Microsoft Copilot is one that is built with the Microsoft tools you already use. Programs like Word, Outlook, Teams, that's convenient, but it also means it uses whatever data and permissions you already have in place. If your data is clean, your policies are clear, great. But if not, Copilot can amplify the mess and possibly add risks. And finally, AI-infused apps. These tools are flying under the radar. Tools like Grammarly, Zoom, Notion. Lots of other applications are available. If you look on the internet, you're going to find thousands of AI tools that can be used. Meeting summaries, writing help, idea generation, those are all very useful options that we want an AI tool to help us with, but often invisible to our IT or leadership groups. We call these types of tools that are being used, but we don't always know they're being used. We call them shadow AI. It's always intentional and it's unmanaged. This isn't about blocking these tools. It's really about recognizing that AI adoption is already happening and that leadership needs to move from passive awareness to really more of an active guidance. We've simplified the slide here, however. A more detailed breakdown of these tools and risks are included in your handout that was shared in the chat, so if you want to take a look at that. But if you have not seen some of these other tools or investigated them before, ChatGPT is very common. You hear that term a lot. I hear people talking in the grocery store line about tools like ChatGPT. But like we said, there's a free version and paid for versions. It uses the Gen AI to really do simple Q&A. So an example would be if we want ChatGPT to give us some information. Like an example might be, let's say that I want ChatGPT to give me 10 post ideas about AI in small business. That's going to use the Gen AI portion of how AI works, where it really comes back and says, okay, here's the information that I found that you could use. But that's where the leadership comes into play. Does this match our company policies? Does this match what we want to be providing to our coworkers, to our end users, to our clients, etc. Yes, it can provide this information, but is it always what we want it to do? When it comes to using the tool Copilot, Microsoft's Copilot, they have an app very similar to ChatGPT, works similar, but it all depends on if I am using the web or if I'm using my work account. The work account actually connects directly to your 365 apps, where I could be asking it simple questions about what's been going on with certain things with my 365. So maybe I want it to track my tasks. What should be on my radar from emails from last week? A tool like this really scans through your Outlook emails and comes back with the information directly related. And these are the things that AI is really good at. These are the things that AI can help us write papers. It can help us do a lot of different things, but we really need to have some guidance as to how should our organizations really be utilizing these tools. So let's take a quick pulse. Poll number 1 today is, we want to know your AI usage. How much visibility do you have into which AI tools your team is actually using? This really helps highlight just how common that shadow AI has become and where governance really starts. So let's see, what do we get for responses from everyone? So when we think about these tools being used in AI, what is going to be your answer to our first poll today? I really like these polls to help us to kind of see, and you can see also where things are at. So we're pretty close, pretty evenly matched on we actively manage and control AI tools in use, and we know some tools are being used but don't manage them. So those are the biggest responses we got. Thank you everyone for participating in that poll for us. So when it comes to this AI technology that we need to be aware of, why AI needs leadership attention now is something we definitely need to discuss. AI isn't something we're preparing for. It's already active in our organizations. Staffs, they're experimenting with tools like ChatGPT, Copilot, often without structure, any policies in place, or even leadership visibility. That's why most organizations are in what we call phase 1, or the starting phase, where AI use is emerging organically, but not a formal structure or ownership that really doesn't exist. And that's okay. That's where this webinar helps. This isn't a technical training, it's a readiness seminar where we talk to organizational leaders that we can help start building the foundation to guide your team. So AI experimentation doesn't become AI exposure. Now, if you kind of think back on our phase 1, when we were talking about mandate, we didn't go in a lot of detail on that just yet, but where we help define your internal policies, your acceptable use guides, your governance roles. That's part of this getting started. That phase is delivered through private workshops designed to turn awareness into aligned action. So AI use is safe, supported, and scalable. So let's step back for a minute and talk about the landscape we're all navigating. There's a growing sense of urgency around AI, not just in tech circles, but across leadership teams. Pressure is coming from clients, our competitors, internal coworkers as well, but readiness, that's where we're lagging behind. According to Cisco, 85% of IT leaders feel they need to act on AI within the next 18 months, but only 13% feel confident they're prepared. That's a major readiness gap. Meanwhile, a Google study shows 88% of employees are already using AI to handle overwhelming tasks, often without formal approval or oversight. Now, this slide isn't here to scare anyone. It's really a reality check. AI use is happening now without structure. Even well-meaning use can lead to exposure, blind spots, or even missed value. But the good news, with leadership attention and the right guardrails, that pressure becomes more manageable and even productive. That's what we're here to help you build. So let's talk about the pressure. So when we think of AI momentum, it's everywhere. But where is it hitting you hardest? This will help us understand where leadership energy needs to shift next. So take a moment and answer this poll for us.
Sorry about that.
It's okay. So where is your organization feeling the pressure? Ooh, changing a little. Starting to see the percentage of clients or customers expect us to be using AI, that's climbing. Staff are experimenting without structure or guidance, stays ahead. And that's why you're here. We need to be aware of the fact that, yes, it is being used, but it's our leadership that can help take that further. So, strategic and operational impact of AI. One of the biggest challenges we see in organizations is that conversations about AI tend to blur together. Leaders talk about AI like it's one thing, when in reality, it shows up very differently at each level within your organization. That's what this slide is here to unpack. AI isn't a single layer issue. It's a multi-layer transformation, and each layer requires a different kind of leadership. At that strategic level, AI is shaping how we plan, forecast, or even make decisions, but only if it's aligned with organizational priorities. AI won't deliver value just by being there. It needs direction. At the team level, AI is already being embedded into daily workflows. This is where informal use becomes operational, and where structure, the process, and the accountability make or break your outcomes. At the individual level, AI is used for quick wins, cleaning inboxes, summarizing meetings, drafting first passes. These uses are very powerful but risky if unmanaged. Leadership here is about enablement without boundaries. So this framework helps us to see where AI is adding value and where it's exposed and where leadership structure is most urgently needed. And this slide is about bringing the conversation back to where leadership has the most leverage, at the strategic level. AI isn't just a tool for saving time and automating tasks. It becomes powerful when it reshapes how you allocate resources, how you make decisions, and how you differentiate your organization. So if we break this down, resource allocation, AI frees up capacity, but leadership must decide where that capacity gets reinvested. Are you using time Are you using time saved to unlock innovation or just speeding up the status quo? Decision velocity. AI can surface insights faster than ever, but speed without accuracy is very risky. Leaders need to ensure that the data behind these insights is reliable, governed, and relevant. The strategic differentiation, this is about defining your edge. AI can power entire business models, product experiments, the service delivery methods, but only if you're intentional about where to aim it. The key message here is AI doesn't create strategy, but it can scale and sharpen it. Only if leadership provides the vision and the structure. The team level is often the most overlooked, but it's actually one of the most powerful levers you'll have. This is where AI use becomes visible. Unlike individuals experimenting privately or executives talking strategy, teams use shared tools to produce shared output. That means their AI patterns can be observed, they can be measured, and guided. That's also your early warning system because teams reveal where tools are working or where shadow AI is creeping in. You'll see where policy is unclear, where good habits are forming, and where problems are brewing. Finally, this is your learning lab. The team layer gives you feedback loops. You can correct course prompts, reassign ownership, update guidelines, and scale what works for your organization. This isn't just where AI happens, it's where AI gets shaped. So the leadership empowerment looks like not just adding a tool, but lifting your people into roles where their judgment, creativity, and content matters most. With AI, the biggest gains can come from doing more. They come from freeing your team into do the right work better. And that's only going to happen if you give them the skills, expectations, and support to use these tools responsibly. So poll number 3, organizational impact. Take a moment and answer this. Where do you see the biggest opportunity for AI to make an impact in your organization? A lot of not sure's yet. Team productivity, finance, legal, communications. That was my response as well. So I'm taking these polls along with you. Okay. So leadership strategy and forecasting was a very small percentage of this response, which actually surprises me because I know AI is a great forecasting tool, but like we said, if not used correctly and in the right guidance, if we're not going back and reviewing, the results may be inaccurate. Thank you for taking that poll for us. So risks without guide rails. This chart isn't meant to scare you. It's meant to clarify where oversight belongs. Every one of these risks is manageable when leadership is intentional. Each of these risks ties directly to something leaders already manage, things like data, compliance, accountability, branding. When structure is missing, even well-meaning AI use creates exposure. Half the time, I swear it's exposure that we don't even realize we are doing. That's why leadership has to frame what's allowed, what's risky, and what must be reviewed. The accountability and ownership row, by the way, this is the most common blind spot. AI gets used, but no one is named to own it or approve the output. And that's where mistakes happen. One more very quick poll. AI ownership. One of the biggest gaps we see is responsibility for defining safe AI use. If no one owns it, no one guides it. This is a key part of phase one of our AI awareness roadmap. If nobody owns AI internally, it becomes everybody's responsibility and no one's job. So yes or no for you? Little even, but more no's than yeses. You're in the right place. You're in good hands. So hopefully this is helping. So common AI missteps. We'll briefly explore how intended AI can be, but things can go wrong very quickly. Starting with finance, for an example. For instance, AI can draft board summaries super quick, but without human review, it might include fabricated data or misleading trends. This isn't just a finance issue. No matter what industry you're in, think about where similar missteps could happen in your organization or even just your department if AI is used without clear oversight or policies. The handout has more real-world examples across the different sectors. Use it as a prompt to reflect on where AI is already in use. Translating risk into practical oversight. Most organizations already have internal controls in place to manage risk based on financial reviews, excess policies, compliance procedures. What we're showing here is how these same principles apply to AI. It's not just about building a brand new governance function. It's about updating your existing structure to reflect new categories with these AI tools. For example, separating who uses AI from who approves its output is the same logic as separating payment processing from approval. If you treat AI as part of your core operations and structure it accordingly, you reduce your risk, protect your data, and support more confident adoption across your business. Fear versus fact. This slide reflects common fears teams may have as AI enters the workplace, concerns about job loss, trust in output, or simply not being technical enough. But these fears are also invitations to reimagine the work we do. AI isn't here to replace people. It's here to evaluate them, to shift focus from repetitive tasks to higher value thinking, creativity, decision making. So this isn't about passing fear aside. It's about showing your team a better future, one where their roles evolve and their impact can actually increase. Okay. So what is AI readiness? This model gives us a clear, structured way to evaluate not only just where AI is being used, but how ready we are to support the use of it. Each stage reflects a shift in organizational maturity. But more importantly, it reflects a shift in leadership mindset. Early on, it's about gaining visibility, understanding what's happening. But as you progress, it's about building structure, enforcing those policies, and ultimately aligning AI with your business strategy. You might remember the graphic from slide 5 that brings it full circle. That roadmap introduced the journey. This model shows what meaningful progress actually looks like. So we start with the exploration, the mandate, the audit, the regulate, and the transform. So AI readiness stages. This is your opportunity to baseline where your organization stands today. The value is in what that position tells you is prioritize next. If you're at start, your focus is building visibility. In mandate, it's time to define clear roles and policies. Audit means digging into your data quality and your governance gaps. This is how you avoid wasted effort and misaligned investments by anchoring your next move in your actual state. So let's see where we are at. Which of these best describes? There's a few of you that are in the transform, but it looks like the majority, including myself, is on the explore. AI is being used informally, but we have no policy or ownership yet. Just watching to see if those numbers were going to change while everybody finishes up here. No, staying at a pretty good, very strong on the start phase. Well, what's next? These are the questions we hear from leadership teams every day. They're not just wondering about tools. They're asking what this means for your business. And you now have language and structure to start answering that. So when we look at the question, what does AI mean for our business? It's already here. What matters is how you lead it. And question 2, how do you use AI as a differentiator? Not a risk. Structure, not speed, is the real competitive edge. Structure. How do I integrate AI across the business? Start with policy, ownership, and safe experimentation. Because it's there, we need to make it safe. How do I create momentum about diving into tech? Readiness starts with leadership, not tools. Where are we exposed? Anywhere AI is used without clarity, policies in place, or oversight. If today helped clarify what's next for you, we invite you to continue the conversation with us, with your team, and with the right guide rails in place. So how do we stay in control as AI evolves? Build the framework now. So adoption grows with intention. Goal number 6, feedback and future topics. Your feedback shapes what we cover next. So we want you to take a moment to share what was helpful and where you would like to have us dive in deeper. We're building this journey with you, not just for you. So how helpful was today's session? What would you like us to explore further? Would you be open to a follow-up? And how did you hear about us? And then we encourage comments as well. I'm going to answer these alongside you. So this is our first out of 5. How helpful was today's session? Governance and policy templates. Data readiness and risk exposure. Good answers. Thank you very much. We'll give it just a minute for everyone to be finished with that. And while you're finishing up your polls, here's a list of the next sessions that we have. So our next session is going to be June 10th, Responsible AI Use, Reducing Risk Without Stalling Innovation. On June 24th, we have People, Principles, Process, Building a Culture of AI Readiness. And then on July 15th, is your business ready to scale with AI? Assess before you act. And then our last session on this AI series is going to be July 29th, From Exploration to Execution, Mapping Your AI Adoption Path. Each one of these will bring you more insight as to where you can be going with AI, going in a right direction. Okay, so hopefully everyone finished up on your polls there. And if you haven't already registered for the next session, we encourage you to visit the website, smartdolphins.com. There's a AI readiness option right at the top of the screen. So if you're interested in what's coming next, whether it's future webinars, private workshops, where you'll do some hands-on, or the next phases of the AI readiness roadmap, go to the website, click on the section for AI readiness, and that's where you can learn more, explore the phases, and find the resources that we mentioned today. Your handout is also going to be a great reference tool. It isn't a copy of the slides. It gives you additional information regarding your AI readiness. To learn more about our webinars, workshops, or other phases of AI readiness roadmap, don't forget to visit smartdolphins.com. Don't forget to access that handout that was put in as a link in the chat to have that available, so you can refer back to that. And as Andrew had stated at the beginning of the session, if you do post any questions, we will be getting back to you with those results. It may be a couple of days before we respond to each of those, but we really appreciate you taking the time to join us for our first session in AI readiness. Thank you very much, and if you have any questions, please go ahead and submit those now. And we'll see you again at the next session.